Good afternoon, morning, and evening, depending where you are in the world. Today, I have a special guest, Mr. Triple T, the owner of the YouTube platform. We invited this guest, Mr. T, to help us, to give us some understanding of what it looks like or what some of the challenges are when it comes to working at men camps. Mr. T here have been working with different organizations for a while, and we happened to come across him because of his experience in the industry. So without no further ado, I am going to go ahead and introduce you guys to Mr. T. Mr. T, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here today.
All right. So I know we spoke about some of the challenges that folks like yourselves working in men camps go through. So while we have you today, can you please help us with some of the main challenges that you go through?
Well, like you said, I've been in industry a little bit about 10 years now. And my field, I'm a health and safety advisor. I spend most of my time in Northern Ontario, BC, and currently I'm in Northern Ontario. So some of the challenges we go through, I'm not going to focus on all of them, but today I'm going to talk about three main of them. So the first one is going to be family life, fatigue, and time. Okay. So I'll first focus on fatigue side, which myself too I experienced. Okay.
Perfect. So you mentioned three main key points: family, fatigue, as well as time. So let's focus on fatigue, as you mentioned. Tell us a bit about fatigue, the type of constraints of fatigue that folks like yourself go through, and how you're able to overcome it.
All right. When you talk about fatigue, there's multiple causes of fatigue, but I'm not gonna elaborate each and every one. But I'm gonna highlight the main one folks like me or people working there go through. So the first one is gonna be like shift work. What I mean by shift work means, let's say you're doing 2 weeks rotation, you have 1 week day, 1 week night. That can cause a lot of stress on you, not able to sleep. Okay. So number two is gonna be inadequate sleep. So most of the people lack of exercise and stuff like that. Okay, bonium is one of them as well as medication. Okay, so being said that these are the main causes of fatigue. Most of them I come across from the organization, from the workers.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. And how do you mitigate the fatigue portion?
Well, when they talk about it, it's really difficult to mitigate it, but some of the control measures are put in place, especially people doing shift work. Okay, so you always recommend them to ensure that when they finish their shift, they should try and sleep. For example, put their electronics away, especially cell phones. Make the room a little bit darker, and that will help you to be able to sleep. Okay. So also, for example, if you have a medication, make sure that you take the medication at the right time. Okay. So also doing exercise will help you to be able to sleep a little bit better. So these are some of the mitigation process we put in place to ensure that you help each and everyone.
Perfect. So ambience, ensuring that if you're taking any medication, you're taking the proper precaution, keeping yourself active. So what about family? You mentioned family as being a challenge. Can you please elaborate on the family portion?
Well, the family is a huge one. Being away from home, long hours, being away from your kid. It could be your kids, your children, your spouse, your grandparent, your parent, whatever it is. Imagine being away from home with the long hours, not able to do things you like to do with your kids. And let me put this one in, for example, this day with the coronavirus going on. And imagine you have young kids being online school, and as a parent or as a whatever it is, you're not around being there to support them. Okay, that's a huge challenge. Okay, and as a result of that, this causes a lot of stress on the people working out there, and this can create a lot of issues like incident and injuries in the workplace. So we always try to bring this up at our meetings to ensure that when you come up here for your 2 weeks, you focus fully on the task. Although we all have issues at home, but we have to ensure that we put that one aside and focus on the job at hand.
Perfect. Now, I know the last piece that you had mentioned was time. So tell us a bit about time management and how that plays a factor in your industry.
So time management is another impact too. So 16 hours a shift, 12 hours, Monday to Sunday, 7 days a week, or 2 weeks every day the same thing. when you come in, you're pretty tired, okay? So you come in, you're in a rush, trying to get a little bit sleep to get ready for the next morning, okay? So the time factor being a job, ca-
So, Mr. TJ, if you wouldn't mind to elaborate a bit on the time management piece, because that was one of the points that you rose.
so when you talk about the time, like I mentioned earlier, the time is about, a lot of them do long shift. Let's say 12 hours, 16 hours overtime. This can create a lot of stress on the workers. And like a lot of people, due to the financial situation, they wanted to work. So they are prone to do the overtime, right? As a result, can cause them not being fit for work. So not being fit for work can cause a lot of issues. So number one would be incident high. The incident rate can go up where people can get injury and get hurt.
Perfect. Well, that's really good to hear. So, we do appreciate the fact that you have been able to give us some understanding on the challenges that folks like yourself deals with on a daily basis, especially not being close to family and during this COVID pandemic season, as well as being able to manage your time a little bit properly, knowing when to take a shift and not when not to, or get some rest. And again, it's always great to hear from expert from the industry. But before we part ways with you, would you be able to give us some advice for new employees or new folks that are thinking about joining this industry, or folks that are already in the industry but looking for life hacks to be able to achieve their daily objectives?
Well, for the folks who wanted to join, it's a great industry, no doubt about it. Good money, all right? But always you have to assess your situation to see your family life. If you have a young family, think about it and make the decision. Is this something that's going to benefit you? Do you have somebody going to take care of your children or the family for you before you go? Okay. Also, make sure that you make that decision with your partner and see what is best for you. Okay. For the people who are already in there, as always, make sure that you focus, pay attention, and follow all the instruction up there, and ensure that you stay away from all the stress and everything that you do.